It's Shop Talk by Know. It's where we hear their stories and shape your future.
The topic of this conversation really is called when the road gets tough, right? They say like the tough gets going, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. You could stay in it, make a couple switches and change ups and still stick with it, or you could abandon it.
I tell people if it's worth it, you'll go through it, but I don't support burnout. I don't support like sitting in depression.
Right.
If it's not something that it starts with your mentality and your perspective.
Mindset. There's always valleys and peaks in every business. And sometimes you're stuck in the valley for a long time before you get to a peak.
Like I'm in that corner office and there were those moments and I had to grapple with, you know what, there's more to who I am than what that title is and what that office is and what, you know, all those things.
All right, so we've all made some significant pivots in our life.
Oh yeah.
In our careers. Let's talk about it. We're going to get into it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about some pivots, some crazy pivotal moments. Anybody? Like, what's that one thing?
I walked out of my job at the height of my career.
Hell yeah. We're like, hell yeah. Wow.
I was the breadwinner. And 7 years ago, I said, I'm done. I was C-suite and I needed some change.
And you had like a major fashion career.
Yeah.
Let's tell the people, right? You had a major fashion career and you literally just
walked out.
Bye.
I handed in my papers to the CEO, my boss, and said, today's my last day. And I walked out.
Wow. Anyone else? Like,
I'm right there with her. 2 years ago, I decided after 15 years of working in a family business, a 120-year-old cigar business, vice president of brand development. I had a sales team looking toward the U.S. market, Central America, and Europe. And one day I said, I'm done. And I walked away from a family business, which was hurtful. I mean, I still don't talk to my father today. But I know in the long run, he's going to be very happy and proud of me.
So, proud of you.
Yeah, it just takes time. But it was hardest thing I've ever done and probably the best thing I've ever done. So.
Yep.
Okay,
Growth.
so like looking at this, 7 years, 2 years, and Chloe, like what?
Well, I'm just crazy pivot all the
You're
time.
like all the
So
time.
it's
You're like, I don't
the
stay
nature of
anywhere
my
for
job.
too
Like,
long.
just
I
keep
gotta
doing
go.
it.
Yeah,
Gotta go.
it.
Gotta go. Not
But
serving.
I don't really call them pivots. I call them 2.0s.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I always tell women, because
Exactly
women are
what we call it.
multifaceted by nature, and they try to put us in a box. So I think what we're doing is when we pivot is we're saying, don't put us in a box.
And we're
So I
learning.
encourage people, and I say it's not a pivot, it's a 2.0.
I love it.
And all you're doing is adding something to that brand expansion.
Well,
if
you
will.
learn.
So I'm always into expanding once it makes sense, and it goes to the integrity of what I stand for. So
I love it.
I'm so proud of you.
Okay, so
guys
I love
that
it you
did
said that, but you know what? I have to ask like a real raw question. Is there ever a time when you were like, shit, I wish I wouldn't have done that?
Oh yeah,
100%.
there's
Yeah.
sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Dang.
There
7
are
years ago, you're like, did I
sleepless-
really make the
Yeah.
right
Sleepless
decision?
nights. There
Should I
are
have done this?
yes,
Yeah.
there absolutely. But I am with you, Chloe. When you recognize when you've lost, you know, you lose yourself, you lose that passion,
Yeah.
and you need to go and redefine yourself.
Absolutely.
And I love how you said this though, because it is
2.0.
the 2.0. What we say. I mean, the business I'm doing with my cousin. This is the best chapter of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Like
that.
never knew that it could actually be
Yeah.
this good. And when you can really bring your passion and your purpose together and to go and do, and that's the
And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I think that's the concept that people
yes,
think.
thank you. I'm
Just
so glad
because,
you're saying
yeah,
that.
just because it's the best part of our
Fucking
lives
hard.
doesn't mean that it wasn't a hard journey, right?
Exactly.
So I have this thing where I'm like, don't confuse the process with the outcome.
Yeah,
100%.
Right. So the process is what's going to get
Look
you.
at you
to,
coming in here dropping
you know,
these
yes,
nuggets
little nuggets.
already,
you don't
girl.
confuse the because we've had the sleepless nights.
Yes.
I built
Yeah.
a recording studio. I don't come from a rich family.
Same.
I don't come from an entrepreneur family. I had a lot of cup of noodle nights, making
Yeah.
sure that we
Amen.
had the lights on. I had high
That
blood
dollar
pressure by the
meal
time
at
we were done.
McDonald's
Okay,
was serving
okay,
for
the
a
dollar
long
menu.
time.
you
Oh, yeah, it's all
understand?
good.
So
Yep.
that was the process. But what I tell people is that when we go into these things and we meet these challenges, it gives us the opportunity to see the strategies that we can put in
Yes.
place.
Yes.
It shows us what we're capable of.
Yep.
We don't understand how we can expand or the things that we can endure or even overcome
Yep.
if there's no
if there's
challenges.
no adversity, then
There'll be
like
no testimony with no test. So
That's right.
That's
I
just really
love
what
it.
it is. I tell people if it's worth it, you'll go through it. But I don't support burnout. I don't support like sitting in depression.
Right.
If it's not something that it starts with your mentality and your
Mindset.
perspective.
Ooh,
right?
this is so good because
God, I
the
love you.
topic of this
I love you.
conversation really is called when the road gets tough, right? They say like the tough gets going, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. You could stay it in, make a couple switches and change ups and still stick with it, or you could abandon it. I know you wanted to say something, Liana, but you.
Yeah, I jump onto your point. There's always valleys and peaks in every business, and sometimes you're stuck in the valley for a long time
Yeah.
before you get to a peak.
That's right.
And what I learned in the process is like so many people be like they want that leap.
Yes.
It's not about the leap. It's about building the bridge, and you got to build that bridge brick by brick.
Yeah.
And you won't understand. You might not realize it's Summit. I'm
Yeah.
coming to Summit.
Yes.
I went all in, and I
Yep.
just met amazing women. I'm
Yep.
working with men all the
Sometimes that's
time.
what we need. That's what
Yes.
we need, right? We don't even know that flip or that shift or that pivot or whatever we want to call it or term it, right?
Right.
Is like the best thing that we didn't know we needed.
And you don't realize it at
that's
the time.
right.
And that's, I would say, probably the best thing of going through these rough times.
Yeah.
It's the people you surround yourself with.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It is
So
so
how-
important.
How did you know, all of you, either any of you want to chime in here? How did you know when it was like time, right? So you said burnout. You probably, you didn't just say like, okay, oh, it got challenging, so I'm not doing it any longer. Like there was probably a buildup. There was probably some signs. When and like, what did that look like? Whether it's like inside your
I
body
can say
or
for
whatever.
me,
Like, how did you know it was time to make a
It
change?
physically started to take a toll on me. I had
100%.
high blood pressure.
That was
I
it.
had 2 surgeries in under 90 days.
Wow.
I was obsessive with my work. I eat, sleep, and lived it,
Yep.
you know, and I was just having kids and still getting back to work. I had a miscarriage and
Right.
went straight to the studio
Oh
from the
my gosh.
hospital.
Oh, yeah.
I was insane.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
there? I was gonna say, was there a time when you were like, "What the?
Yeah, I
hell
went
am I
straight to the
doing
studio and
right
went
now?
right back to work.
This
because
isn't normal.
It's
This
not
isn't right."
normal, right? And then
No.
it was that time when I was like, the dream can't live if you don't live, right? So at that point, I did another 2.0 pivot, right? For me, it was building spaces. I built a recording studio I had for 8 years. I had a consulting business for 5 years. And then I built Chloe's Corner, which was a co-working space
I love it.
and the home to my nonprofit. And I never took the leap of just standing out there as Chloe Love. It was
Yeah,
always the spaces that I built that I got recognition for. And what I realized during that downtime that I had to sit still, not that I wanted to, I was put to sit still, is that it wasn't about the spaces that I built, but the spaces that I kept for people, the space that I
love
kept
that.
for entrepreneurs, the spaces I kept for women. And at that point, I didn't feel the need to open another space or build or burn out and do that. I just needed to show up. And that was the biggest piece and pivot that I did that to this day.
That's powerful.
If I didn't go through those things, I wouldn't have
Liana,
understood that.
talk to us about timing. Like, you made a big determination and move outside of the family business, right? How do you know, like, talk a little bit about the timing of that. Like, how did you know it was time?
Like to your point, your body. I had gained 80 pounds. I had 4 miscarriages. I was working on the road 3 weeks out of the month. I didn't see my husband. I'm like, what am I doing all this for? It was different on my end because I'm doing it for my family business. But then when I realized there was no gratitude, it was an expectation. And I realized that this glass ceiling was definitely there because I'm a woman. And it's the truth. I'm the first woman in the industry that's really kind of made her own mark and her own
It's
brand
amazing.
in this family business. And it was hard. But again, the best thing that I did, and your body will tell you. I was losing sleep. I was losing hair. I had surgeries. I had miscarriages. I was unhealthy. I didn't recognize myself anymore.
Do you feel like, why do you think we stay so long?
I think there becomes almost sometimes there's a comfort in what you know. There's comfort in what we know.
Losing our hair,
Yes.
having surgery.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't go to a
And
doctor
we're
for
like
3 years.
on the edge of
Yes.
death here,
Yeah.
and then we're like,
There's a moment, I think for me, what mine was is I had worked my entire life, similar, super humble beginnings. And I go back to like my 24-year-old self. I dreamed of the job I was sitting in.
Yes.
I remember
So
thinking,
you're like,
I'm going to get it.
on me.
And
How
I'm
can
not-
I not
and
be
I-
grateful?
Yes.
How can
exactly.
I now walk away from what I got to? Like I'm in that corner office, and there were those moments, and I had to grapple with, you know what? there's more to who I am than what that title is and what that office is and what, all those things. And that was, my husband, he's the biggest supporter. And he was actually the one who finally said, he's like, babe, you're a shell of yourself. Like, it's time.
You gotta go.
And he supported me and said, he's like, look, we're going to figure this out. And it was scary because, again, I was the breadwinner.
Yeah.
But it was the best.
But it also speaks to that I feel like women are in this time, it's like you got to be strong, right? So we moved from you got to be strong and you got to endure. And so many women came before us and they didn't have the opportunity to work, and feminism. And we take on these roles of the women before us, and we're trying to show up in that strength and that gratitude for the opportunity. And that's why I lived, eat, and slept it, is because it was like what you said. You got the chance to do what you want to do for a living. How do you not do it every second of the day? That's being ungrateful, but it's actually being crazy, because when do you enjoy the fruits of your labor?
The best part is those lessons of what we endured has made, I do this with my cousin, and it has made us so much better at what we do every day. And yes, all those tough roads and all those things, but we're so much smarter because we know we never want to go back to that, because that was so bad.
I want to touch base though, because I feel like ungrateful was said twice. They were ungrateful with us.
Yeah.
So you got to realize your worth, what you bring to the table. And if you don't love yourself and you don't feed it, then no one ever will.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that was a wake up moment.
Yes.
So no, I'm grateful.
Yeah,
Thank you for the 15 every day, because what you went through in your careers is what you got you here.
And I was going to say, do you
and
wish
you got to be
left
grateful
sooner?
for it.
Oh,
No,
every day.
yeah.
I'm like this, that I get to be and do what we're doing.
Absolutely.
That's like, we are blessed.
Yeah.
100%. So
How do you know, like, when it's time to go outside of your body screaming at you, right? Like, I always tell people, I feel like I measure it by like a stoplight, right? So like when inside of me, I'm like, nope. If it's red and I'm like not, it's a hell no or a hell yes. Do you measure it like that? And then I always say, like, if it's yellow, then it's sort of like, I'm not sure. I always tell people to like wait it out, right? Because we're talking monumental pivots in all of your lives, but it could be even like little small decisions.
Yeah.
Like I know you had to go from like, you went from like B to C to like B to B.
B to B.
Like just changing things that like, if it's not working, right? Like making those quick decisions. I was just talking to our teens too, and I was like, like we don't necessarily have time to think logically. Every decision can't be a logical decision. Some of these decisions are quick. How do you know?
I mean, now
What's your
I'm
measure?
so much more in tune with my gut. I'm so much more in tune with what's happening around me, and I'm listening. And I think that's the pieces. Before, I was never listening. I wasn't
100%.
listening to what was even just the physical things, but also now it's like you hear, like, I was missing that. I had lost that for too long, and now it's like, okay, we know when something's not right.
Yeah.
And you can feel. We all know.
we have that
We
intuition.
have it.
as
We
well.
all have that. Yes. And it's also just ensuring that, like, what are the things I'm pulling in that I'm listening at, and am I learning from that, and how do I then? And that was what we learned in order to make the pivot from where we went from the selling in retail
I love
into the B2B.
And it's not easy. I think it's exactly what you said. It's not easy. Nothing is easy.
Yeah.
Nothing in life is easy. And when you put so much time and effort and stress and work into one thing, and then you realize it's time to make a shift, that doesn't feel, it's not going to be an automatic, easy situation, right? It's not, it doesn't go from like bad to good overnight, right?
And even if it does, you grieve it, right?
Right.
I think people, they don't give themselves, even though you know it's bad for you, you grieve it
Reflection.
because it's the death of something.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes you can be attached to something that's toxic, but it's still what you knew.
Yeah.
So you're going to grieve it. Yeah, there's safety there. So you're going to still grieve it. You just got to give yourself that grace to go through that grief.
That's
Love
right.
that.
So what do you say to ladies out here who are like maybe feeling like, I don't know, this is really resonating with me. Maybe I need to make a change. Maybe there's something I should be doing. And of course we don't know all of their, their situations, but what do you say to someone out here who maybe feels inside of them, but they're a little bit scared?
I would say don't be afraid to do the hard thing. Nothing that's worth anything ever comes easy. But utilize your resources. I think a lot of the times we try to do it alone. Like for me, I publicly said I practice human design, I practice astrology, and I am my faith in God is to the most. It's a contradiction for a lot of people, but I go God first, show me through the universe, understood my human design, understood my chakra.
Yep.
If that gut says no,
Yes.
it's
That's
a
no.
hell no.
Yes.
So
I
but
love
if,
you.
that's it. I understood, like you said, the astrology. Sometimes I could feel
Hey.
crazy, and I'm like, "What's going on?"
your
Aries
sign?
must be. I'm a Sagittarius.
Oh, I'm a Leo, but
Pisces,
I'll just tell
Sagittarius
you.
rising.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
year.
So
I-
sometimes
I
I'm
can
like
see it. I can see it.
feeling what's going on in the world, and then tuning into that, and then making an informed decision by the resources. It's
Yeah.
really just tapping into your resources, your community,
Yep.
astrology, human design, God 1st, and that's what's been working for me, and
Yeah.
it's been a quantum leap since.
You
so-
Yeah. just know, right?
There
Uh-huh.
is a belief. I mean, I every day I wake up and I mean, you'll know, like my song is unstoppable, and I listen to it. I have learned that I am unstoppable, and when you truly can believe in yourself
100%.
and take it and say, the mission that we have is so fucking clear.
So
Mhm.
clear.
And that is, we're not going to let anybody get in our way.
Yeah.
And so we are going to get those bumps, which you talk about. You just like move through it. You all got to
Strategy.
move through it. That's going to be life.
Mhm.
And there's a difference though, right? Because there's a difference when you're like, man, this is really hard, but I should endure. Then, man, this is really hard, and I'm like,
It's time to let go.
I have high blood
Yeah,
pressure.
and there might be a different
my
door.
hair
I
is
think
falling
that's the
out.
other thing too, is
You
to
know.
recognize is in those hard times, and I'm sure for you guys as well, like you have to, like, if there is a door that's not opening, don't keep pushing it.
Yeah.
Go around.
Create
Is
your
there a
own
time
door.
frame?
Go find another
you know?
one. It depends.
It's hard, right?
Sometimes it is.
Liana, what do you say to someone who maybe is like feeling inside of them that they need to make some kind of a change?
My
but they're
biggest
scared?
thing for people and advice that I do mentoring is opportunity has a shelf life.
Mm.
And
Girl,
if
Ooh,
yes,
that's
you
a
told me
good one.
this. I love it.
opportunity has a shelf life, and you got to know the difference, you have to say no sometimes. But
Yep.
if you say yes, the
Mhm.
possibilities are open. And
Opens.
you might think that you're
Yes.
going to be going for something, and then all of a sudden God shows
Yeah.
you all this.
You're like, oh,
Something
something
else.
else opened
So
up.
opportunity has a shelf life, so say yes
Mhm.
for the real necessary things.
Yeah.
And I want to add to that, discernment is very, very, very important, because sometimes when you're in
Girl.
abundance, a ton of opportunities can hit you.
Yep.
You try to take all of it, and that still
Then
leads
you're
to
gonna fail. Yes.
that's
You're gonna
burnout,
fail.
right? So it's really discerning what your goals are. What is my goals? What's going to get me
100%.
there the fastest, the most efficient and effective, that stands with the integrity of my values.
Yeah.
And then you pick that. You always want to go to that one signature thing and still have the others. That's what we build out in We 2.0. But you want to go for that, because you can have 10 and 12 opportunities. You try to take all, then
You're going to fail.
you're
Yeah.
going to fail. It's
Pick
like
one
you
and
got
focus
none.
and go.
Mhm.
That's it.
I always do the 3 rule.
What's the
Yeah.
rule?
No, you just stick to 3 things. Don't go beyond. You go beyond 3, like forget it.
What's
Like
the
what's
three
the
rule?
3 rule?
It's
No,
not
just stick
complicated.
to 3 things.
Yeah.
Like I say to everybody,
Yeah.
you do more than 3, like you are then gonna fail. Like,
Yeah.
if you can
That's
really
it.
like be
And know your
expert
season,
in those
right?
3,
Know the
like that's
season
it.
you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies, I love this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Amazing.
being here.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us.
You're the
having
best.
us.